session from Be Advanced, where myself, Christian, and the founder, Mohsen, will talk about product market fit. And as you all know, product market fit is an evergreen. It's a mission-critical topic for a startup. It can make or break a startup. And behind me, you just see some facts why it is so important. If you ask founders, for example, why did the startup not work out, you see a staggering 42% of founders say, well, it did not work out because the market didn't need what we are building. So there's good and bad news in this. If you take care of actually validating what the market wants, what the customer wants, you have a very big factor of the entrepreneurial risk already addressed. But on the other hand, I think it's staggering that 42% of people are building stuff people actually don't want. So let's look at product market fit and how you can achieve it in a strategic way. It's because the market always wins. That's a very nice quote from Andy Rachleff, a VC entrepreneur from Silicon Valley. And if you expand this quote a little bit, he says, when a great team meets a lousy market, what happens? The market wins. If you turn it around and a lousy team meets a great market, the market wins again. And something very special happens if a great team meets a great market, then something magical can happen and a startup can really exponentially grow and be successful. And that's what we are here for. We at Be Advanced, we support entrepreneurs on this path towards success through all these challenging transformations that a startup has to go through. Product market fit is one of them. Be Advanced is a quite compact team of just a few people, and we have a network of excellent coaches, sparring partners, and together as a Be Advanced family, we have supported over 1,000 founders, startups, SMEs. We connect countless people, so we are here in the canton of Bern, sort of like an entry point into the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and we are happy to help you be successful on your entrepreneurial mission. With that short intro out of the way, let's jump right into the topic of product market fit strategy. And strategy is important because you want to approach it in a thoughtful, strategic manner and not just spray and pray and see what works. So let's start with some definitions or some basic concepts, and then we'll be really happy to hand over to Mohsen from the startup DAF to tell us his kind of story towards product market fit. PMF is mission critical because, as I mentioned earlier, it can make or break a startup. If you scale or try to scale before you actually have this product market fit, it can break your company. And that's not me saying it, that's a quote by Reid Hoffman, another legend from Silicon Valley. So premature scaling, according to him, is the most common cause of death for a startup. Let that sink in. And premature scaling can mean different things. It can mean, for example, that you think you have something that the market wants, and then you start hiring all sorts of specialists that you actually don't yet really need, and you increase the burn rate of your company. So premature scaling is something to be aware of. And by the way, at the end, we can have some Q&A sessions, so if you want to dive deeper into this, we will be happy to take questions. All right, so now what the F is PMF? Let's look at it and start very simple. Y Combinator from Silicon Valley puts it just in plain words, make something people want. As easy as that. But then, of course, you can start to add layers to it and more complexity to it. So what it means is you find and understand a problem that is a huge pain point for enough customers that your strong solution that solves this problem is really pulled by the market. If you have this, then of course you also need a sustainable business model. In the end, you need to be able to make money with it. To achieve this, you will need a good team. So Mohsen, I'm sure as a founder, as the CEO of a startup, you know, or you can tell us how critical the team is. But nothing happens without capital, also very important. CEOs are always fundraising, so capital also very important. And now if we open up the dimensions even more and get really multidimensional, you see that product market fit is really a complex topic. And you can pick out all sorts of different dimensions. I once talked to a very successful business angel, and she said, actually, it's not product market fit, it's also, for example, product market sales fit. Let me give you an example. You see behind me those different dimensions, and you could pick channels. Through which channels do you sell? How do you sell? And also pricing. What's the price of the product? And now let me open up a spectrum of a product that has a very low price, very affordable, kind of like low involvement product. You just make impulse decisions to buy it. On the other side of the spectrum are very expensive products, B2B hardware like a machinery for $10 million or whatever. And then in the middle you have this price of, let's say, $500, $600, $1,000, whatever it might be. And now why is this important with regards to the channels? So if you have a very low price, the good news is you don't need a sales force, an expensive team of sales professionals to actually sell this product, because it sells itself in a way, it's low involvement, you don't need to convince people. If you're on the other side of the spectrum and it's super expensive, then you also can afford the sales force, the sales team that has to explain and sell this product. And if you're stuck in the middle, that can be really problematic, because you actually need a sales force to convince the people and explain the product, but you can't afford a sales force. So that's one example of how it's not just product market fit, it can also be product market sales fit, and all those kinds of dimensions. Now let's continue a little bit into some indications that you are approaching or that you find product market fit. I looked for the cringiest image of happy customers, and that's what I found. So, of course, a happy and growing customer base is very important, but it's not enough. What else? You want to have growing profit per customer. Of course, that's fantastic. Again, you guessed it, it's not enough. Revenue has to grow faster than the costs, but you need more. You want to have an increasing sales dynamic. So instead of sales feeling like you have to push your product down the throats of people, you want the dynamic to switch more and more towards a place where it feels like you can sell more with less. Pushing becomes pulling, so that the market starts to pull the product from you. That's obviously a fantastic place to be in. And then you will also need an organization that is actually capable of producing your product or service in a high number, in a constant quality, in a repeatable fashion, because otherwise scaling might break your company. So you also need an organization that is actually capable of reproducing your success, the quality that the customers want, so that you can actually fulfill and answer market demand. And eventually, you want to have all of this at the same time. So you can imagine that this is a very tricky and demanding thing to achieve. And that's why you should never expect to have product market fit just a few months after having your first business idea. As Mohsen will be generous enough to share, this can be a very long story with ups and downs. And so thank you very much already now for contributing your founder story to this. Now let's dive into strategy. In the end, you can formulate it with this slogan in a way. I want you to be Indiana Carlson. And I mean, be very strategic with the experiments and adventures that you undertake to move towards product market fit. And how can this look like on a conceptual level? Quite simple. You have seen this multiple times, or have thought about this, I guess, multiple times. Obviously, whenever you talk about strategy, first, you actually want to understand where you want to go. So you need to understand for your own business context, what does PMF mean for you? You need the North Star at the sky that you can work towards. Then, second, you want to build a strategic perspective on this kind of North Star, and you could formulate it in a way of you need to start working on your company and not just in your company as a founder. You actually need to work on the company as an organism itself. And that means answering questions like, where do we plan to go? Where do we stand today? What do we have to do next? So all of these kind of typical simple questions that turn out to be not so simple after all. And then you want to approach it step by step. And obviously, you will need to go through many iterations. So you will try to reach these goals. Then you need to adjust course because you realize strategy number 1 didn't work out. You need to adapt. So having iterations or having a very low burn rate is key, that you can maximize iterations. Because I would say most founders and startups underestimate the amount of time or the amount of iterations they need to actually get to something resembling product market fit. So the bad news, no jacuzzi in your office. Don't use investor money for fringe benefits like this. Achieving product market fit is hard work, and you need to keep the burn rate to a minimum. With that, I will take a break, and please, Mohsen, join me here in the front. So you will share the story of your company, DAF, and it's a very interesting story. And then I will return to continue with some more conceptual inputs. But now, welcome to Mohsen.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Just a disclaimer, I still believe we are working towards product market fit. It would never end, but what I learned is that we didn't put a system in place before, which made it very difficult, which you will see in a bit. But if you follow a framework that also Christian will share a bit more also on that, I think that will be much easier procedure to go. At least you have a system, you can look back into it and adjust accordingly. At DOF, just to give an overall view of what we do, we provide autonomous mobility solutions, and our focus is on autonomous wheelchairs for passengers with reduced mobility in the airport. And the issue that we are solving is that when they go to the airport, it's a basic human right to provide them mobility services. And what the airports they usually do is they send a staff member with a manual wheelchair to take them from one point to another. But this kind of operation is very labor intensive, meaning it's very costly, but also if you look at the passengers, they cannot have the full experience of air travel as anyone else because they're dependent on the service provider. Here is a short video of our device, just to, yeah. I don't know if it will work now. Yeah, so that's actually the prototype that we have. The only reason I'm showing it actually is that to then show you from where we came and arrived at this. But yeah, it has a lot of features, but also I would not go through all the features, but it's an autonomous wheelchair basically. As you can see, it can go from one point to another in the airport automatically. And even since last time we had a presentation together in a startup nights, right? It has already changed even. So you can see we really try to adjust according to the need of the market. But I would not go through the whole thing now. But in terms of personal experience, it really takes time. And if someone was telling me that it takes time when I just started, I would have, as a newly graduated student, I would have said, it's like an exam, we just studied overnight and then we get to a perfect product market fit. And my reaction would have been like this, that we will manage. It's not something that will take us time, but it does. And what I mean by it is not just it takes time, but it also costs money. And there are a lot of things actually that we may not consider as founders, even the rent that you're paying for the office or a mailbox when you register the company is a cost. And at some point, your money will finish. So you really need to be careful with the burn rate that you have. Also, the iteration is not only about the technology. You may think that, oh, you know, one more iteration on the product, I will have a perfect technology, but in reality, you need to go and talk to the market, to the people, like that they may buy the device or not, or whatever service that you're providing. And that one also may take longer because some, especially if you're in B2B, some companies actually, the decision process, the sales cycle is very long. So even if you're an amazing, you have an amazing solution for an amazing client, if the decision process is long, then you may be out of business if your burn rate is high. Just an example, before fundraising, our burn rate was that low. With 50K, we could survive for 3 months. And if, for example, we got the support from Canton Bern, which made us actually go on for 3 months, which during that period, we did all the negotiations with all the investors. And then my bank account was 840 when we raised the first million. Don't try that at home. Like, but the thing is that also to just give you an overview of how the journey was very long, and I mean it was something that I was always passionate about. Like I always say that we have a family business. My ancestors, they invented the wheel, and we are reinventing it. And then I was doing robotics since I was a kid. And then we had the first patent when I was 17, the second one was 21, and then the third one with EPFL 2019. And 2021 Dove was established. But before even being Dove, like we went through a lot of, I would say shit show, but I will explain here, like, for example, we had the technology. You could use it for personal mobility, wheelchair as a medical device, cargo handling, or airport PRM service, which is what we are doing now. But we were not lucky enough, while even we did project with IMD, like to do market research and so on, we were not lucky enough to start with airport PRM services. So we started with, at the time, it was like personal mobility was a hot topic. It was before, yeah, and a lot of issues with the Segway, and Segway was going down, so we thought that we have a very good alternative. We interviewed a lot of young people for a skateboard and for fun, basically, to using it for last mile transportation. And everything was going perfect. We were also at the Fongit. I see also Caroline there. Like, yeah, good to have you. Like, so we were preparing for launching for the crowdfunding, and then COVID hit. So if we had a high burn rate, we would have been dead. We were not. EPFL decided to invest in us a bit more. So we survived it. And then this time we knew not to build before finding the right market and have the product market fit to a good extent. So we did more of a visualization and talk to people. Like we interviewed like hundreds of people basically with disability afterward. And then we did the last time the product looked really amazing, but this one, we even took it to Geneva Airport, like to make people go around. That's the IMD team actually that they were helping us with the business development. But then when we found to a good extent, I would say like good direction for product market fit, we really went as fast as possible. Like from that prototype that you saw to September 2024, it didn't take that much time. We adjust everything. We added the autonomous navigation. We added even some other features that we developed with Zurich Airport, not on our own. But yeah, that's basically like to say that it really takes time and it also costs something. So the lower your burn rate is, the better it is for you. And even if you have an amazing technology, sometimes the sales cycle is long. So be careful with that. Yeah, Christian, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this first part of your contribution. Mohsen will return. So now let's go back onto the more conceptual level, back again. And I would like to share with you this tool, the product market fit canvas. I mentioned earlier that it's important to be strategic about your adventures, and this canvas is supposed to help you with this structured approach to reach product market fit. Again, like a short teaser or preview, what's the philosophy behind it? The method of reverse engineering. That's kind of like at the core of this all. And reverse engineering, as the name suggests, it is you think of what goal do you want to achieve, what's kind of like the end goal, and then you reverse engineer what you need to do in between this ideal state in the future and where you stand today. So that means you have, for example, product market fit in the future, and then you say, okay, what do I need to reach as a milestone so that product market fit actually gets into reach? And then yet again, what do I need before this milestone that I can reach it? So it's this reverse engineering, and you will define some KPIs that are used for each milestone. And now with this preamble, let's dive into a bit more detail. So this is now just an example. Let's say you have defined product market fit as we build a device, could be Daph's autonomous wheelchair. We build a device and we are able to scale production of this device. Also, you could say, well, customer acquisition costs, this CAC, is below 5,000, and the customer lifetime value, LTF, is above 20,000. So you might have said for yourself, hey, we need to have like a multiple of customer lifetime value compared to our acquisition costs. Otherwise, our business cannot work. We don't have enough to reinvest cash into innovation and so forth. So these are some examples of KPIs that you can define for your milestones on the way to product market fit. And then, of course, you will need to say, we can't achieve like a scalable device right from the beginning. So you do some reverse engineering and you say, one milestone has to be that we have a prototype that is usable, for example, in the airport of Zurich, airport of Geneva, and so forth. You go one milestone back and you say, hey, that's not even a prototype. We are actually kind of ashamed of what we are building here. That's one rule of thumb. If you're not ashamed of the MVP that you are working on, then you have waited for too long. So the first milestone usually is something like, oh, that's not sexy yet, or it's not as featureful as you envision it to be. But that doesn't matter. You have to take it step by step. So that's what I mean with this reverse engineering method. And now that's the canvas. It can be a bit overwhelming in the beginning, but let me guide you through it. Just step by step from number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So number 1 at the top, you have the company vision. That's the North Star that I mentioned earlier. You need to know where you want to go. So is it, for example, the startup that wants to revolutionize personal mobility for people with disabilities? So this could maybe be the vision of the company. Once you know where you want to go, for example, or where you want to be in 10 years, then of course you can move on to step number 2, where you start to translate this vision into something that you can measure. So product market fit can then, for example, mean customer acquisition costs and customer lifetime value. They have to be, the value has to be 4 times as large as the costs, for example. Or you could say we have 70% satisfaction of the customers that use our product. Or we have a net promoter score of whatever. So you define the product market fit criteria. Then number 3, in comes the reverse engineering. Up here you see that's how product market fit will look like in the end. Then you circle back, what are the milestones that I need to set for myself to actually reach this final goal. So that's basically the slide that you saw earlier, this one. That's what I mean with here, step number 3 and 4. Then next up is, where do we stand today? Up until now, we have only talked about the future state that we want to achieve. But now, of course, we also need to understand where are we today? What's our situation? And that's number 5, here in the middle, this self-assessment step. And you can see here that there are multiple different dimensions. So one is, for example, how well do I understand the customer? How well do I understand the market? Have we figured out a business model yet that can work? What about financing the startup? Or do we have the right team in place? So there are multiple dimensions that you need to be successful with your startup. And here you can make a self-assessment to kind of like understand, in this example here, you might say, we are not so fit yet when it comes to customer understanding, so we need to invest here more than we do at the moment. And now the rest of the canvas, all the way up from here to the top right corner, 6, 7, etc., is basically going through these dimensions and ask yourself, where do we have the gaps? So, for example, our gap is we don't yet understand the customer well enough. And then, what do we do about it? What is the action that we want to take? It could be we need to do at least 20 interviews with potential customers to have a better understanding. So this is nothing else than saying, where is the gap and how do we close it? And you can do this for all these dimensions. I saw a couple of people taking pictures, so no worries. At the end, I'll share a QR code where you can connect with me on LinkedIn and then send me a message and I will share the slides with you. So this can be a bit much to digest, but we also have like a little bit of Q&A time to have a look at it if you want. And of course, once you have the slides, you can also, in all tranquility, work through it. All right. What is important, however, is once you have done such a comprehensive self-assessment with this canvas, this is, I would say, a bit too complex for daily business. So the last step is that you will then try to translate this canvas into like a KPI cockpit or a dashboard where you understand what are like the key indicators that we need to have on our radar. And it could be something like, where does our net promoter score stand? Or what's the burn rate? What's the customer acquisition cost at the moment? So this is a lot of work to actually understand what are the, let's say, 5 key metrics to be on track that we as a founder team, for example, understand how are we doing actually. So working on such a cockpit is not an easy thing. It takes time, maybe also some sparring, some coaching, but it's definitely worth having. And of course, what the KPIs are in your business, that can vary, of course. Now, allow me to sum up before I hand over again to Mohsen, and then we will be open for questions. Product market fit is all about focusing on creating customer value first. That means maximize the amount of iterations you can do so that you can really understand your customers well. And iteration also means that you kill bad ideas quickly. It's not worth it to stick with ideas that the market tells you, actually, I don't want this idea. So move on to the next one. So it's great that you, after COVID, didn't continue with the skateboard idea, for example. So dismiss bad ideas quickly. Then scaling, you should do it after you have good traction or a good sense that you have product market fit. Otherwise, it might break your company. And then a very important thing, and Mohsen, you have already mentioned it, product market fit is not something that you achieve once and then you have it and then everything is purple and pink and rainbows. It's a dynamic state because the market changes, the customer needs change, and so you also need to stay on top of it that you keep product market fit and don't lose it again. And now, back to Mohsen and your summary.
Before actually I go through this summary, like just to comment on some of the points that Christian also mentioned, like regarding launching the product before it's ready, if I go back in time, I will only do one pitch deck and I will do a dashboard for myself, like for the company, like to just see what is happening in the company. It's really important to have these two. But the second thing is that when we got introduced after the venture kick to the head of digitalization in Zurich Airport, I didn't want to even go there in person to show them the prototype. But also we ended up having the CEO of the ground handling company there to try the device, and he even went to the window in his office, but he invested in our company because he believed that actually we can make it work and scale it also afterward. And now we're part of the offering basically for different airports in DACH region. But the thing is that if they are not seeing that as early customers, if they are not seeing that you basically can be a good fit for them, it also shows that they are not really your customers. You need to go with more innovative ones in the beginning, and then when you prove the concept also and the proof of value basically that you have, then you go and spend more time and money on making the product more stable or more good looking, depending on which market you are in. But also regarding the, I think it was the previous slide that he had, like in terms of the scaling, also like what I have seen with some of my friends that they have done a great job actually in terms of fundraising. One of our advisors even, they raised 45 million, and at some point they went down, the company went down, and the things that they overhired people also in the team, which can be quite dangerous, because that's something also based on even Swiss regulations, you cannot fire people that fast. And which can kill you. But also the thing is, sometimes if you don't have enough job even for them, because you need to supervise in the beginning especially a lot, and if you don't have the work already sorted out and exactly knowing which features you want to develop, then you end up paying people that they are not doing much in the company, which also reduces you basically from a startup you will turn to a corporate that people do whatever they want, while in a startup everyone should be on top of the game and they should be really creative, efficient, work hard and so on. So you don't want also to do that. But yeah, it's also like just one more comment on that it should be maintained. Like when we discuss with airports, for example, like some of them, they don't even want the autonomous feature. And we didn't go religious on them like, oh no, you only need to have this feature. They asked for another feature that actually was much simpler for our team to implement. And the business case was quite good. We are doing autonomous navigation systems, but we have also features that, like Follow Me, for example, David is working on it. That's basically like, it just reduces the workload on the staff, and it's a good business for us. So also be flexible, even if the customer asks you to change something. If they ask us tomorrow, if put a coffee machine on the wheelchair that we pay more, we will put a coffee machine on the wheelchair. So really be flexible on that, like because at the end you want to serve them. They are not there to admire you as an engineer or as a genius who knows different technologies. But yeah, so try to search for it, and also again like adjust accordingly, and don't take anything serious. If they ask for something that you need to do it. But also there is I would say a thin line between the two, like that sometimes they're not really your customer. They ask for too much just because they don't want to say no. So be careful also with that to distinguish. Sometimes it's just that person is not the best one in the market to approach right now. We had a massive airport actually reached out to us, even their directors flew to Switzerland and to Vienna that we had pilot there. We ended up saying them that we are not going to do that. Like no one have believed that. We just told them no, because if they were using our solution, it would have been basically the mark of the industry for us. And after that, it would have been easy to scale. But we postponed them a bit because what they were asking, I think they didn't have any idea also like how it would look like. So we kept them updated. Like I'm in touch with them. I send them videos of what we are doing and so on, just that they are aware that we are progressing. But I show them like why we have this feature or not that feature that they ask for. Then, try to iterate and pivot as fast as possible. If you have a great team and you're a great leader, if you don't have the product market fit, they will follow you anywhere that you go. But you will basically drive them down the cliff. So make sure that as the CEO especially, or as the founder, your main job is to find this. And then for that, then of course you need to raise funds, you need to do this and that. But you really like tomorrow, if I discuss with my team, let's I don't know, develop a flying wheelchair, they will be up for it. But I will basically waste their time and also in the investment money that we have got. in terms of where to go, like we are now currently in Canton Bern. Just in terms of personal experience, is really we really enjoyed our time here so far, and we're looking forward to more adventures in Canton Bern. In addition to the Be Advanced that Christian also mentioned, that you get a lot of support. Yesterday we had a meeting with one of the partners in a famous VC in Switzerland. You could just ask your questions and so on, which is quite useful for startups, like I would say. And also we have been in Geneva before at PhoneSheet. We had a great experience also there. In Lausanne, in EPFL, it's an EPFL spin-off, basically. Like we were at the Innovation Park also there. The thing that I have personally experienced is that the competition there is more, I would say, fierce. And in the earliest stage of the startup, you want to be a bit more, because you need to educate yourself also. You need to get the time to do that. And also the services that you get in Canton Bern is quite VIP services like that. Even for things that you may not even imagine that you may need to call someone. As an Iranian, I got a visa to go to the US, for example, thanks to the call that the canton made to the embassy. These kind of things that, again, at that moment you may not think about it, but you will see that it's quite important to get a good service there, a good support. Also, we got a lot of non-dilutive money from the canton. They have the booth also here. Afterward, you can go and talk to them. Depending on the size of your business, we got the maximum that they had. So, like, go for it and push for it. And again, if you're ambition enough to ask for it, to go for it, like they will give the money. So, it's not like just like throwing it out, but you need to follow some guidelines. But it's also good because it's non-dilutive, especially in the beginning, that you don't want to do that. Like to give shares, or even you don't have any idea about what is a CLA or this kind of things, get that. We got it from almost everywhere. We have PhoneSheet on our cap table also, like talk to Caroline also here at the end, like for that. But also in terms of if for hiking, swimming, skiing, like Canton Bern is the place to be. But yeah, that was the advertisement part.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to close this sessions. As I mentioned, I represent Be Advanced, and we want to make you successful. So we have a booth down there. You can visit us. You find Be Advanced online, beadvanced.ch, quite straightforward. I'll give you a second to scan if you want. All right. Good. And now I want to share a little bit of product market fit resources, just additional resources that you can make a deep dive if you want, because honestly, 45 minutes, not enough for this topic. So some recommendations. Y Combinator has great videos on YouTube that you can check out where I talk about it, founders and experts. Mark Andreessen, famous investor, already talked about it in 2007. So as I mentioned, that's not a new thing, product market fit. It's an evergreen, it's a classic. Here again, another example of Y Combinator, a founder talking about product market fit. Stanford University has public lectures on YouTube where you can learn more about it. There are 2 books about the topic from Swiss authors, also very useful. And now, as I mentioned in the beginning, you can reach out to me over LinkedIn, and then I'm happy to share the slides with you so that you can go through it with all the time in the world. And with that, I would say we do have 5 more minutes, maybe a bit more, to get some questions from you guys. So if you would like to dive deeper into one of the topics of this short presentation, we are now here for you. And okay, there's one in the back.
Yeah, I'll just start off with, I love the way you displayed it, and congratulations on your success. When you have a competitive environment where you develop something and you're not sure if there's another team out there, you know there is another team out there, how do you deal with that, and also specifically to the scaling problem? Do you have some insights?
If there is no one out there who's doing it, so that's not a great sign. First of all, like it's better to have competition. Then, what was the second part? The question?
Specifically, how do you deal with competition?
Oh, my team, they know actually. I even invited the CEO of one of our competitors to go for dinner together, like just to know them as person. It depends on your market, really. Like at the end, the philosophy that I have for myself is like we're in the business of helping people. If we cannot get along with the competition, I'm pretty sure we will kick them out of the market, like sooner or later. But the thing is that like if it's not personal. Right? So it's better to know your competition, to even be in touch, know thy enemy. So if you look at it that way, but then get to know them, get to see what they are doing, and then actually that even also helps you how to position yourself in terms of even marketing. For example, like since 2 weeks ago, we don't say that we do mobility as a service. We say that we are doing accessibility as a service because the features that we have is beyond just moving around, and so that's quite important, like to know your competition and also try to see what you do better than them and focus on that part for your positioning. In terms of scaling afterward, like we are in the procedure, like by the end of the year, we will have some contracts that we really need to prepare for to deploy the solution in different airports. I will let you know next year. But we are trying to do it in a way that if everything go wrong, is still the core team in Switzerland, they can continue. Yeah, it's conservative, but I think we go more bold on other domains of the business. Yeah, sorry.
More questions? Yes.
I don't need it.
It's better because then it's on the recording.
Hello. Yes. All right. Thank you very much for your insights. Very helpful, I think, also for me in this business. My question would be like, this is one product that you have, right? Imagine you are a tech company that's providing different services, like your app, a dashboard, or whatsoever. So you have different products. What is there, the product market fit? Do you need to see it for each product itself, even though you know that they are all connected? So if one breaks, the other one, even if they are very good, you can't use it anymore. So what is maybe your suggestion from a conceptual point of view, if you have these different products that are interacted somehow, but one of them, if it breaks, everything is broken. But what would you suggest in this case?
It might not be a direct answer to your question, but what you're asking reminds me a lot of setting priorities, focus, and so on, to understand which components of your value proposition, and the app can be one, a dashboard can be one, and so on, which component of the value proposition actually resolves the pain of your customer the most. You could find out, for example, if you could ask a customer, if the app wouldn't exist anymore, or if the dashboard wouldn't exist anymore, would you still use us or not? Or just, I think you are capable of understanding the core of your offering quite well if you just ask a lot of questions and then set the priorities and make sure that this core component of the value proposition doesn't break, and the rest might be nice to have for the moment. But I'm not sure if this answers your question. Good enough.
I will add one comment on that. That one thing that you really need to have is always risk management. We did it recently, like if the core component fail, like not even core, imagine the whole thing fail, right? Like what happens to your customer at that point? Like imagine you are a passenger, you want to go to the gate, and then bam, like nothing works. You need to have backup plan for those also, like because the customers, they ask, and if you're a startup B2B especially, the customer really looks at it for worst case scenario. So you need to be ready actually at least to have a contingency plan. Like if it like in our case, the wheelchair can be also like pushed like a manual wheelchair. So it's like worst case scenario, they go back to what they're doing.
That's a better answer, I would say.
But InnoSwiss has actually a template, like if you go on the SIP one, like I think we did a month ago, like we went through it, and then now for a public tender, we're doing it. But go follow that. And ChatGPT, like honestly, give your solution and ask it to criticize it, break it, like what can go wrong, and it gives you like 100 things. You may think some of them they are not happening, but actually those are the most important thing. That, for example, like we even have like some plans, like if another COVID happen. So if they, in addition to killing myself, like we have a plan. So, but the thing is that the airport may stop the working. So you need to have a backup plan. Like also, like even if the airports continue, you have another disease that, I don't know, the logistic doesn't work. You cannot get parts to be delivered to you. We have plans for those. It may not work when shit hit the fan, but we prepare as much as possible. Yeah.
If there are no more questions right now in the moment, you will still find us downstairs at the booth of Bern Capital Area. Mohsen, I'm sure you also have other business to go for, but you will find us here or downstairs. Thank you, guys, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.